Feel sunlight on your skin, and you are feeling the output of an enormous nuclear furnace 90-odd million miles away. The sun is a vast ball of hydrogen, the simplest and lightest element there is. Deep in its core, squeezed under crushing pressure, hydrogen nuclei are forced together and fuse step by step into the next element up, helium. We call this nuclear fusion, and each time it happens, a small burst of energy is set free. Multiply that by the staggering number of fusions taking place every second, and you have sunlight, the light and warmth that reaches Earth. When we say the sun burns, we do not mean fire. We mean fusion. But where does that energy come from? Here is the beautiful part. Weigh the helium that comes out, and it is a touch lighter than the hydrogen that went in to make it. A sliver of mass has gone missing. It has not been destroyed. It has been turned into energy through Einstein's most famous equation, E equals mc squared, which we unpacked in its own video. A tiny amount of mass becomes an enormous amount of energy. The astronomer Arthur Eddington was the first to realize back in 1920 that this is what lights the stars. The sun is very slowly converting its own mass into sunshine. There was just one problem, and it nearly sank the whole idea. For two hydrogen nuclei to fuse, they first have to touch. But each one carries a positive charge, and like charges repel, harder and harder the closer they are pushed. To overcome that and slam together, the nuclei must move astonishingly fast, which means the core must be astonishingly hot. And here is the catch. The sun's core, at some 15 million degrees, is far too cool for fusion to happen at anything like the rate we observe. By the ordinary rules, almost every proton should be turned away long before it ever touches another. When critics raised exactly this objection, Eddington, unmoved, reportedly told them to go and find a hotter place. He was certain the energy was there. He simply could not say how the protons ever reached it. The answer is one of the strangest tricks in all of physics, and to see it, we must step away from the sun for a moment and picture something simpler. A ball rolling toward a hill. If the ball is moving slowly, it climbs a little way up, stops, and rolls back down. It does not have the energy to reach the top, so it never reaches the other side. Roll it 1,000 times, and it will fail 1,000 times. In the everyday world, a barrier you cannot climb is a barrier you cannot pass. Full stop. Now shrink the ball down to a single particle, an electron, a proton, or even a whole atom. And remember what we learned a couple of episodes ago. A particle is not a tiny solid pellet. It is described by a wave function, a spread-out wave of possibility. And when a wave meets a wall, it does something a rolling ball never could. When the wave function strikes a barrier too high to cross, it does not stop dead at the wall. It seeps into it, fading as it goes, weaker and weaker the deeper it reaches. For a thick barrier, the wave becomes unimaginably small before it can get through, and the particle stays trapped, just as our intuition expects. But for a thin enough barrier, something remarkable happens. If the wall is thin enough, the dwindling wave has not faded away completely by the time it reaches the far side. A faint sliver of wave function emerges beyond the barrier, and a wave function on the far side means what it always means, a real, if small, chance of finding the particle there. The particle can simply appear on the other side of a wall it never had the energy to cross. We call it quantum tunneling. Now, a word of caution, because this is widely misunderstood. The particle does not borrow a burst of energy to vault the wall and then pay it back. It does not arrive on the far side, drained or supercharged. It emerges with exactly the energy it began with. Nothing is stolen and nothing is repaid. It is simply that the wave function reaches into places the old rules said the particle could never be. And here is the idea that ties everything together. In quantum mechanics, a wall need not be made of brick. A wall is simply any region a particle would need more energy to cross than it has. It might be a thin sliver of insulation, the fierce force that binds a nucleus, or even a narrow gap of empty space between two pieces of metal. They look nothing alike, yet to a quantum particle they are all the same kind of obstacle, and every one of them can be tunneled through. So why can't you walk through a wall? Because the odds collapse with brutal speed. Make a barrier just a little thicker and the chance of tunneling does not shrink a little. It plummets by enormous factors. For a particle as small as an electron facing a barrier a few atoms thick, tunneling is common. For anything as large as a person, the odds are so impossibly small that you could hurl yourself at a wall for times vastly longer than the age of the universe and never once pass through. Tunneling rules the world of the very small and vanishes in ours, which raises a fair question. If particles can slip through walls, why don't the electrons in your own atoms tunnel away and let matter crumble to nothing? The answer takes us straight back to something we just saw. Tunneling never changes a particle's energy. An electron settled into an atom has nowhere it could go with the energy it already has. To break free, it would need more, and it has none to spare, so it stays exactly where it is. Tunneling can only carry a particle somewhere it was already allowed to be, and for a settled electron, that somewhere is home. The first place this trick revealed itself was inside the atom. In the early days of physics, radioactivity was a deep mystery. A heavy nucleus, like uranium, holds a tightly bound clump of particles called an alpha particle locked inside, trapped behind a barrier of tremendous force. That alpha particle does not have anywhere near enough energy to climb out. By every classical rule, it should stay imprisoned forever. And yet, sooner or later, uranium decays. In 1928, a young and famously irreverent Russian physicist named George Gamow saw the answer. The alpha particle never needs to climb the barrier at all, it tunnels straight through it. Two other physicists, Ronald Gurney and Edward Condon, reached the very same conclusion at the same time. It was one of the first times anyone had turned quantum mechanics loose inside the nucleus, and it explained radioactivity at a stroke. And it explained something even stranger. Some radioactive atoms decay in a fraction of a second, others take billions of years, longer than the universe has existed. Why such an absurd range? Because tunneling is so fiercely sensitive to the barrier. A tiny change in the particle's energy becomes a colossal change in how long the escape takes. One single rule stretches from the blink of an eye to an eternity. The man behind this insight was as colorful as the idea. Trapped in Stalin's Soviet Union, Gamow twice tried to flee, once attempting to paddle a small kayak clear across the Black Sea with his wife. Both attempts failed. In the end, he was granted permission to travel to a scientific conference in the West, and from there he simply never went home. He went on to help explain the birth of the universe in the Big Bang, and to write witty, beloved books that carried the strangeness of quantum physics to ordinary readers. Now we can return to the Sun, and to Eddington's unanswered question, how do its protons ever get close enough to fuse? Quantum tunneling is the missing piece. They never do gain the speed to force their way together, just as the critics warned. They do not need to. Now and then, a pair that should have been turned back simply tunnels through the wall of repulsion between them and fuses. For any single pair, it is staggeringly rare, but the Sun holds an unthinkable number of protons. That faint, ceaseless drip of tunneling fusions is what lights the Sun, and it is so rare that the Sun burns slowly enough to last for billions of years. Eddington had been right all along, and tunneling was how the protons reached the energy he was so sure was there. Sit with that for a moment. Without quantum tunneling, the Sun would not shine. There would be no sunlight, no warmth, no photosynthesis, and no life on Earth at all. A trick that lets particles slip through walls is, quite literally, the reason you are here to hear about it. Those steady tunneling rates give us something precious besides: a clock. Because each radioactive isotope decays at its own fixed, reliable pace, we can read the age of a rock by measuring how far its atoms have decayed. It is how we know the Earth is not a few thousand years old, but around 4.5 billion. And for the heaviest elements, like uranium, that unwavering pace is set by tunneling itself, quietly winding a clock buried in the stone. By the 1980s, physicists had learned to put tunneling to work. Two researchers at IBM, Gerd Binnig and Heinrich Rohrer, built a device called the Scanning Tunneling Microscope. Bring a needle-sharp tip a whisker above a surface, and electrons begin to tunnel across the tiny gap. Because that tunneling is so exquisitely sensitive to distance, sweeping the tip across the surface maps its bumps and dips atom by atom. For the first time, we could see individual atoms and even nudge them, one by one, into place. Tunneling also runs the memory in your phone. Inside a flash memory chip, each bit of data is stored as a tiny cluster of electrons trapped on an isolated island of silicon, walled off by a thin layer of insulation. To save or erase your photos, electrons are made to tunnel straight through that wall, onto the island or off it. Every picture you keep is a crowd of electrons that walked through a wall to get there. So a phenomenon that sounds like pure fantasy turns out to be one of the quiet pillars of reality. Quantum tunneling lights the stars, drives the decay that lets us date the Earth, lets us see the atoms themselves, and stores the memories in your pocket. A particle passing through a wall is not a loophole in nature. It is part of how nature works. We have now watched quantum mechanics build the atom, stack its electrons, hold matter together, and slip particles clean through solid walls. But there is one more invention waiting, the single device that, more than any other, built the modern world. And it runs on quantum mechanics too. Next time, the quantum trick hiding inside every computer, every phone, and every screen you own, the semiconductor.